pamoja na tukue pamoja. Kuimarisha Kenya ni jukumu la Farm Kenya.
Well, hello there. This is Farm Kenya Show, and today we are in Kiambu County at Mulango Farm. Today we'll be looking at organic farming, and specifically vegetable kind of organic farming, and we'll be looking at how you as a farmer can plant your land. Remember, every Tuesday we take you to the farm, onto the plate. We'll be looking at the process of preparing your vegetables as well. My name is Calvin Nyakundi. Let's look at how this process takes place. Let's get into the conversation now with Els Kamande, who is the director, Mulango Farm, right here in Kiambu County. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, so when did all this start? How did you get into this?
So I came here with my late husband on this family land, the Mundia family land, in 2007. And well, there was a land, it was bush, and we just slowly started farming, so clearing the bush and growing vegetables. Mm-hmm. That's how it all started in 2007.
Okay, so 2007 to this time, of course it's very many years, and you've incorporated organic farming into the farming that you do. What necessitated organic farming? Why organic farming?
So when we came here, when we started, it was a neglected, well, a land that was not used. It was all bush, and it's family land. So we decided we want to make it better instead of just using or misusing the land with, monocropping and fertilizers and pesticides. That was really very intrinsic motivation to keep it clean and make it better. So that's, and we started very small and learning by doing. But yeah, that's basically the whole vision behind it, is to make it better for the future.
And when we look at organic farming, in terms of the nitty-gritties of it, what goes into organic farming? Because a farmer is sitting at home saying, okay, I've tried organic farming, but I keep on going back to the chemicals and everything else that is put on the vegetables. So what goes into organic farming?
Yeah, that's a long story. We do courses here. Mm-hmm. It's difficult to explain it in a few minutes, but most importantly, your soil. Build up your soil, make your soil healthy. Because if you have a healthy soil, you have a healthy plant. Mm-hmm. Of course, there's a lot of things that make that it becomes healthy. You need to do a lot of different crops together, not just monocropping, because that's not a healthy way of farming. So different types of crops, intercropping, crop rotation, a lot of helping hands and eyes, because you just need to see what's going on. Observe your land. Beneficial plants that help other plants. It's quite a story on how to do this, but it's, traditional way of farming. Your ancestors, your grandparents and their grandparents, they had never had this fertilizers and pesticides and all that horrible stuff that people use nowadays. And people ate very healthy. So these things are all quite new.
Mm-hmm. Right. Even as you speak about this, when you look at the farm that you have, it's quite big. And when you look at the crops, intercropping, we've spoken about intercropping. What the species that you have here, just give us a perspective of that. And how has it been growing different crops at the same space?
Yeah, so we grow now, I think, more than 70 different types of crops.
Wow.
Crops, a lot. Vegetables, herbs, it's all outdoor. So open field. Lettuces, leek, broccoli, cauliflower, fennel, skooma, spinach, managu, a lot. But we started very small. It was all bush, so we started with just one field, and bit by bit it grew, and we learned by doing. And so a lot of mixed crops.
And also, when you look at the advantage of intercropping, let us look at the advantages of that. How does it contribute from one plant to the other?
Yeah, so plants help each other underground in the soil. Some take nutrients, some give nutrients, so they help each other and in the soil, but they also help each other above the soil. For example, we have nasturtium, the edible flower, growing on the farm. Not only does it look nice and you can eat it, but it helps the other plants because it attracts the pests. So, for example, if you have cabbages growing, and you don't want those pests to go onto your vegetables, you plant these other crops that attract the pests, so they don't go to your vegetables. Now, that's a little example. Basically, you just need to confuse nature a little bit and direct the doo-doos where you want them.
And of course, you're speaking about confusing it a little bit. When it comes to the seasons that we have in a year, you find that there are seasons that are a bit dry, other seasons are very rainy and cold. How does this contribute into the kind of ecosystem that you have around here?
Now, for us, we're quite lucky. We're in Kiambu County. It's a very green and lush area. But we always need to irrigate as well. If it's dry for a couple of days, we need to irrigate. And yes, when it's cold and very wet, the crops don't grow so fast, but they still grow. And we do a lot of water management to make sure that if there's like last year with the floods, if there's really a lot of rain, that our crops are not flooded. So that's water management. It's just a matter of managing things.
Now let's look at the animals that you have and their contribution, because you have an array of animals around here. You have horses, you have donkeys, you have ducks. So how are they coexisting in the same space? Yeah,
so we have all these farm animals, mostly because we welcome a lot of schools and a lot of families. People from Nairobi, they come to visit for a day and learn about farm life. Now, what does a farm look like? We need to have these kind of animals, of course, to show. There's a lot of children in Nairobi that have never seen a cow before or a goat before. So that's why we have the animals here. But of course, they also contribute to the whole ecosystem on the farm. We do permaculture. We practice permaculture principles, and that's short for permanent agriculture. So things continue and continue and continue. Like the manure, it's not waste for us, the manure. We use it in the farm again. We also use it in our biogas. So waste from the farm, like green leaves that we would maybe put in the compost, we can also feed our animals with it. So it's a circle. That's why we have these animals. They help in the whole system also. Okay.
And as you have mentioned about the biogas that you use, when it comes to some of the challenges when it comes to using biogas, is there a time when there is lack of that, and maybe you would advise a farmer who maybe has the same kind of practice what else they can use that goes into the organic system?
Now, our biogas system is enough for cooking for like 2-3 hours per day. So an average family, it should be fine to just have this system. We feed it with 2 or 3 buckets of manure every day. So of course you need to have that manure. It goes a bit faster when the sun is shining. When the digester gets really hot, it goes a bit faster. But usually it should just you should have a consistent stream of gas coming out of that system. Yeah.
And when you speak about the cleanliness, because with a large farm like this, you need to have a system of cleaning so that at least the diseases that are usually there doesn't affect the animals that you have and also even the crops. Yeah. So just give us an overview of how you clean the farm and how do you maintain the system of the regenerative type of farming that you've spoken about.
Yeah. Now, of course, the animal houses, you really need to clean it and keep it clean. And so we have a few guys full-time working in the animal area because, of course, that's a lot of cleaning. On the farm, nature does the work. Of course, people sweep the paths where people walk. And sometimes we do a bit of weeding, but not so much because nature, it shouldn't be too clean. Nature will do the work. Maybe later on the farm we can show you a bit more on what I mean there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And now that you've spoken about the nature, I believe a couple of weeks ago or last month, the Ministry of Agriculture banned some pesticides that are used. First of all, do you use pesticides on this farm?
No.
You don't use pesticides?
Yeah, natural pesticides, but pesticides. Not those horrible chemicals that are still being sold in the agrovets here.
All
People, please stop using that.
Okay.
Horrible stuff.
All right. And do you think there are pesticides that are being sold that could be good for an organic farmer?
Chemical pesticides that's not organic, so that doesn't go together.
Okay, all right. And let us look at the diseases, the plant diseases that are there. Have you encountered any? And if you have, how did you make sure that at least at the end of the day you've countered them and you've gotten better yields for your farm?
Yeah, of course, problems are there always. Pests are there. Now, if you do monocropping and you get a disease in your crops, it will be immediately a big problem. And then what do? Either you let everything go to waste or you spray with chemicals. That's monocropping. It's a bit of a colonial way of looking at your farm. How can I make money here as soon as possible? With organic farming, if you have all the different crops growing together, if there's a problem, it's usually not spreading out to all the other plants because all the other plants are different. Your crops are also much more healthy if you have a healthy soil. So the crops are strong enough to fight it themselves. Of course, we have problems sometimes, and then we use organic pesticides, organic sprays. We work with a company who helps us with also organic products that you can use on the crops. And again, it's a matter of managing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you look at the broader perspective of the government and the Ministry of Agriculture, are there policies that support organic system of farming? And because of the number of years that you've been doing this, what do you think needs to be added on the policies in order for it to push the organic system of farming?
Now, first of all, it's even officially illegal to share your seeds. How? Why? That you're not allowed to share your seeds with your neighbor. That's how farmers have been doing it always since the beginning of times. People were able to eat because they were sharing their seeds and they were saving their seeds. So how can you criminalize that? It just doesn't make sense at all. So that's one thing. Other than that, I'm not so much into politics. I'm a farmer. I don't know much about what's happening with Kenyan politics. I don't go to all these conferences that are being held because I'm busy running a farm. But yes, there are quite a few really good organizations in Kenya who really do good work on pushing the agenda for organic agriculture.
And now that you are an expert in organic farming, when you look at the way farmers are treating organic farming, where do they go wrong in terms of, because a farmer might place the seed, they've done the manure and everything else, but at the end of the day, their yields are not balancing with what they had planted.
Yeah.
So
or the yields are good, but the input is too expensive.
Yes.
Because they buy all those chemicals and pesticides and things that you don't really need. Where do they go wrong? I think where humanity has gone wrong is forgetting about the traditional ways. And like I said, pesticides, they only came in the 1940s. Before that, everybody had to eat. Now I see farmers, they are burning their compost. They're burning their leaves, what could be beautiful compost, because they don't know that you should build your soil with your own organic waste. So it's a matter of education, I would say. The things that we have lost a little bit, let's go back to it.
So let's cross over and look at, you're doing organic farming and there's conventional. So what are the advantages of organic farming when you look at it, when you look at the organic and conventional?
Now, organic is healthy, conventional is, or monocropping and using pesticides and chemicals. That is, in the long term, it's only, you have nothing left in the end. Because you need to put more and more and more and more inputs until you give up. Your children and their children and their children also want to use that land. And then they find a land that is destroyed by chemicals. And you can't do anything with it anymore. So the advantages of organic farming is, it's healthy and it's in the long run, you have abundancy. You have your healthy food. You can grow. You can sell whatever you have extra. You have your fruits. Everything you have on your own land.
Right.
And you have a healthy family.
At the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So let's look at harvesting. You've grown your vegetables. You've grown your crops, and you're harvesting. So, as an organic farmer, what is the process of maintaining that land after you've harvested everything else? You're preparing it now for the next season of planting. No. Is it the same way as the conventional one?
No. So you put a lot of manure, you put compost, you keep your soil healthy, and then you plant again. But you rotate your crops. For example, if it was first a root vegetable, then you put a leafy vegetable in general. Yeah.
Right. And when it comes to also harvesting, the system of, or the style of harvesting, you can give us the how-tos, because many a times when people or when farmers are harvesting from different parts of the country, if it's plucking the leaves of sukuma wiki, how because earlier on we were speaking and then you were saying there are people who just uproot the whole plant and then at the end of the day you don't have anything that is remaining on the land. So what goes into that when you're harvesting different kind of crops that you have?
Yeah, so we have a lot of visitors who come here from the city and they can harvest their own vegetables with one of our guides. And some people have no idea and they pull the whole skooma out of the ground. I was telling you about that.
Yes.
Yeah, so it depends. All the crops are different. Skooma, you just pluck what you need and the rest continues to grow. A cabbage, obviously you take the whole plant out. Rhubarb is a bit like skooma. You take from the outside and it grows again. Sometimes we leave plants to grow because we need the seeds again. We have so many different crops with so many different styles of how you harvest it. That's why we always invite people to come to the farm, come for an educational visit, because it's yeah, there's so much to learn on a farm and to see how does it all work.
Yes.
Yeah.
And speaking about how does it all work, you have animals, of course, we spoke about them earlier, but someone might ask, how are you managing to keep the livestock or the animals here without any antibiotics, without anything? How does that work?
So for the animals, we do have a vet coming quite regularly to check on them, and if one of them is sick, we treat them, and there we do use medicine sometimes. So we're not all that 100% organic. Sometimes people ask, and are you 100% organic? And I say, no. We also use cars to drive to Nairobi. We still use
you
a
don't
petrol.
Walk.
Yeah, and we still use a petrol pump when the electricity is off. For the animals, when they are sick, we do treat them with medicines. We also use plants. For example, Artemisia, it's the antimalaria plant, but it also helps against worms in the digestive system of the animals.
Oh, okay.
So it's a combination. But 100% organic, especially with the animals, no, we're not.
Okay.
No, but we do on the plants and in the soil, no chemicals, no. That's where we really keep it clean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So, Els, before we go for a short break, this farm, the years that you've been here, tell us one thing that stands out on this farm that you would like someone out there who wants to try such a system to get. What does that one thing that stands out in a farm, in Mulango farm for you?
For us, I think our mantra has always been just continue. Tomorrow is another day, and as long as every day you do something, you will grow. It will come. Don't get discouraged when you have a setback. You just continue. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much for engaging with us. We're going to go for a short break, but don't go too far. When we come back, we're going to also explore the farm and look at some of the vegetables that Mulango farm has to offer.
Kuwa mkono ambao unalima ardhi, mlango wa mkulima, kuwa mshindi, kuwa na uhakika sasa, kuulea mustakabali wa baadaye. Tufanye kazi pamoja na tukue pamoja, kuimarisha Kenya ni jukumu la Farm Kenya.
Makofi ya the world champion baby. Na hii ni makofi ya Morphix, which absorbs the liquid 3 times faster na haiwezi leak even in 50 different movements. Renewed Morphix, ultimate quality.
We value your feedback and welcome your comments, queries, and complaints regarding our content. You can get in touch with us via SMS on 22151, call 0719 012 111 or 0732 142 000 or email feedback@standardmedia.co.ke. Our PO Box number is 30080-00100 Nairobi, or deliver to our offices at Standard Group Center, Mombasa Road, Nairobi.
The envelope. It should be in that cabinet.
Here.
It's filled with letters, so I'd write him letters on every birthday. That's how I released all of my anger.
Give me that. Why did they want to take the letters that you wrote for your dad?
Maybe he thought there was money inside.
Who are you?
There was a burglar, ma'am. I was just trying to help.
No, you're the burglar!
What were you doing in that place? I don't buy your explanation, Edward.
I really didn't want to get you involved, but the chief just had to meddle.
Have you already forgotten? If not for him, you'd still be in prison because of vehicular homicide. And here you are, getting yourself into another trouble.
I thought you were different from Mom. Turns out you both feel the same way about me.
Where are you going?
We're going to see your dad, remember?
Recharge your subscription on your current bouquet for 2 months and get upgraded to the next high bouquet for 60 days to watch the battle unfold. The search for Africa's next hit maker just got hotter. Recharge your subscription today to never miss a moment on the move. Stream Next Superstar live on Star Times On. Star Times. Enjoy digital life.
Mkono ambao unalima ardhi, mlango wa kulima kuwa mshindi, kuwa na uhakika sasa, kuulea mustakabali wa baadaye. Tufanye kazi pamoja na tukue pamoja, kuimarisha Kenya ni jukumu la Farm Kenya.
Welcome back. This is Farm Kenya, and today we are speaking about organic farming, but we'll be looking at the vegetable type of organic farming. And joining us is Lolita Thara, who is a farm guide right here at Mulango Farm in Kiambu County. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, so let's go bit by bit. Let us look at vegetable farming, organic system of vegetable farming. First of all, what does a farmer need to do? The basic things.
Well, I will say that prepare your soil. Soil is the backbone. Let your soil be fertile. Let your soil be clean. So having your soil clean with compost, avoiding all sorts of chemical you can avoid. You don't have to use so much expensive, just whatever you get in your kitchen as refuse. Let it just, that compost, then first, that is the first thing. Let your soil be clean. So your soil be clean.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you speak about soil be clean and soil and compost that you've mentioned, what are we talking exactly about? Because a farmer might be coming from a place where the tropics, we have the dry areas, we also have the tropics.
Yeah.
So when we are speaking about a clean soil, what goes into that?
Well, not necessarily like, compost, which is basically kitchen refuse, or even, all these dry leaves, because of course, even if in the tropics we have those leaves that fall off from trees, or rather even the head that they cut down, and most of them burn the leaves, yeah? So instead of burning them, let them roast somewhere, and then that is enough compost.
Okay.
Yeah, that is enough. That is enough compost for you. Yeah. So if you have also manure, you can also get from your, animals. If you have also, that is also enough compost to add in your soil.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there something known as, or can be looked at as more or a lot of manure or excess manure? Is there an amount of manure that a farmer needs to use?
Well, let me say no. Manure is always good, whether in large quantity, whether again in small quantity, we can say, there's no excess manure. Because as long as it has no additives, the compost, the chemicals, then it is always good. Whether in large or less, then it's always good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's now look at vegetable.
Uh-huh.
The different kinds of vegetables that you have on this farm.
Yeah.
How do you prepare your farm when you're using the organic system of farming?
Yeah.
And what goes into now incorporating the vegetables? First of all, just give us how you prepare your soil and also your farm before you now use the seedlings.
So when, for example, this piece is bare, after harvesting maybe everything that on this small area, we first of all dig it well, and then put compost or even manure, whatever we have available at that time. Leave it for some few days for it to incorporate in the soil, and then afterwards now we can now start planting. So leaving it for some days without directly planting after replanting, and as in giving it some time to to stay, then that is it. So we first of all dig it out, then leave it for some days of adding manure or adding compost, and let it incorporate in the soil.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for how long do you leave the compost in the soil? After you've dug and then you've incorporated the compost, how many days? And then we'll move from there.
So let me say 2-3 days, and again, it has no effect anyway in the soil, so it can also stay forever. But 3 to 4 days, and then now we start planting now.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, leaving it in there forever is also no problem.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's look at how you get your seedlings. First of all, where do you get them from? Even the seeds that you plant, and what goes into the things that you look at when you're getting your seedlings or even the seeds? Yes.
So one, we have the agrovets, just the Kenyan agrovets. We have so many agrovets within this area. That is where we buy our seedlings. And what we don't have within this area, then again in Nairobi, we have advanced agrovets that again where we buy our seedlings. Secondly, we also propagate our own seedlings. So you might find, or rather you will see as we walk along our farm, that we have left some plants to kind of overgrow so that we can get seeds from them.
Okay.
Yeah, so we propagate our own seeds as well. So agrovets, we buy from them and also propagating our own seeds.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the vegetables now, you've prepared your farm, you've dug, you've put the compost for maybe 3 to 5 days or 3 to 4 days.
Yeah.
And then now you've gotten your seeds.
Yeah.
Now, what is the process of incorporating the seedlings? How long should they stay before you start now watering them, before you get into the whole process of taking care of this seedling?
Well, it depends with the crop, yeah, because every crop has a different duration for it to be mature. But again, we have our greenhouses. I'm sure you've seen it up here as you are coming down. That is now where we kind of prepare the seeds and then we get the seedlings. So depending on different veggies, yeah, some veggies take less time to be enough to be brought in the main land, and also others like coriander, we don't have to do them in a greenhouse. I mean, just do the seeds in that small segment you've prepared. Others like carrots, you don't have to do them in a greenhouse, so just plant the seed directly in the farm. So it depends with which veggie are we talking about, or because they all have different span time for them to mature.
Okay.
Yeah.
And since you have different types of vegetables, and as you've mentioned, different vegetables take different times. Yes. So when it comes to watering, how does that go? How do you take care of that plant for it now to start maturing, even for it to reach at a point where you can now get your leaves?
Nice. So, let me first of all begin with how we water our plants. Yeah?
Yes.
As you can see, we don't have these funky methods of irrigation like drip irrigation or anything.
Yes.
So we have the hose piping, which we believe that, or rather we know that it mimics the rain. Yeah.
Okay.
So whenever we just do the hose piping method, like mimic the rain, so we find that it is helpful in that some doodles, some pests, they kind of fall off. So it's also a pest control method. So that is one thing. And also, so we normally say that for an organic farm, it's all about observing, because there's no chemical we are having here. So we really need so much eyes on the farm. And that is why we have, every department, we have quite a number of workers for them to keep observing, So we normally say that for you to water, you don't just water. How is your soil, If your soil is wet, then it's fine. You don't really have to water every time. As long as you can feel, that is observing. That's why we need workers every time to just keep their eyes open and observe them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for example, can the land or the farm and the soil that the way you've mentioned, if it's wet, can it stay for the whole day without watering? And also, as you said about the hose piping system, do we have maybe a connected kind of piping that helps with the hose piping, or it usually comes from one place? How does that go?
Well, we have a borehole one, and we have underground water. We will walk along with you. You'll see down there.
Yes.
And pipes are connected. Pipes are connected here. So we use petrol to pump water, and every time now we use petrol, then water is now being supplied to every corner of the farm. So that is how. So every part, maybe underground, as we walk along, we have now pipes connected over there, and a tap maybe in every segment to connect the pipe. Okay. And maybe someone in charge of that place to help with the watering. So that is one. And secondly, we don't have to water every time. So not like every day, every time we keep watering. So that's why we incorporate the mulching technique. That's where in that it can hold the water, the soil can hold the water. So as you walk along, you're going to know that we have done mulching on our farm. That's why the soil can also, retain some water.
Okay.
You don't have to do it every time. Yeah.
All right. And now you've grown the plant. We started from the seedling all this way. You've taken care of the plant, and now the plant is mature, healthy enough to be plucked or harvested. What is the process of that? And how do you recognize an organic plant that has been grown organically? And how do you make sure that as it has been harvested, it is safe to go to the market without it getting spoiled, without it breaking the branches? Yes.
Well, okay. Well, when the plant now is ready and mature for harvest, so we just, every plant has a way you can harvest. So the people in charge of this place, of all the farmers working in this place, they are trained, they know how to harvest each and every plant, yeah? So when we harvest, we see that everything is ready for harvest, we harvest everything, and there's a place where it is cleaned. How do we know that it is organic? Well, is there a way we can know? I'm not really sure whether there's a way we can know whether it's organic. But normally, you can look at the quality of the quantity of something. So there's a way you can see inorganically grown broccoli. It might be very, very big, yeah? But the organically one, it's not as big as, there's nothing added in the broccoli, so it's just naturally grown. So I can maybe say size, size of the veg. Yeah, maybe that, I don't know, but yeah, maybe size. Because you find that some are growing so big, some are not as big as the others. So maybe size, so I don't know. Yeah, so on preventing on them to break, then is there a way we can really prevent? Yeah, we normally say that when we package them, yeah, we have to really be careful, and there's a plan. There's a plan on who is taking who. So we don't have to take everything at a go. So there's always different people taking it at different places. That it can be easy to divide and to avoid them, breaking and everything. So we also pack them in very beautiful baskets. Also beautiful baskets. So there's nothing that, unless maybe someone steps on them or other. Yeah. So otherwise they are well packaged in baskets, so to avoid the breakage and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's look at, because as we've been looking around the farm, you have incorporated different vegetables on the same piece of land. Give us the science behind that, because you can see onions, spring onions, and also other different indigenous vegetables. We have kales as well. So give us what science went behind that.
Well, it's all about biodiversity and letting plants and veggies and all different type of plant, correlate and grow well in one area. So the science behind that is also to make your soil fertile. That is what we call intercropping. And you find that every crop has its own benefit on the others. So if I talk of the spring onions, they are just, scented. They have that strong smell on them. So in a way, some pests can't stand this, and now they won't affect the lettuces in there.
Yes.
So it's a pest control method. Yeah. So you find that some of the nutrients that maybe beans left there, very nitrogenous, and they will leave the nutrients in the soil. So planting something along with the beans, then it gets to drain the nitrogen from the soil. So it's all about pest control, nutrients, sharing and everything. So yeah, it's all about all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even as you speak about the pest control and the diseases, of course, organic farming involves a lot of manure.
Yeah, sure.
Involves a lot of urea if you use it.
Yeah.
Yes. So at the end of the day, when it comes to using compost, using manure, using all these kinds of natural systems of making sure that at least the farm is nutritious enough, are there diseases that come from this? And how does a farmer make sure at the end of the day, this kind of manure or this kind of compost doesn't affect the growth of the plant?
Oh, nice. So I must say that it is challenging. Let me say organic farming is challenging, and when it means all hands on deck and all eyes on the farm, then that is what we have to just always do. So yeah, diseases always come, not always, but they might also come, and which we have also experienced. But the advantage with us is that we don't do monocropping, yeah? Where we have to do that a whole segment of, this all portion is only one type of crop.
Yes.
So losing this segment of lettuces it's not as sad as losing a whole piece of land with lettuces. So the moment we note that there's a problem on this piece of land that is affecting the lettuces or whatever else is planted there, then we have to uproot, remove everything. It's not as painful as removing a whole piece. So it's all about keeping our eyes open every time, and normally that is what we've really applied. Whenever we note that there's a certain disease or rather a problem with that segment, then remove everything, leave the soil, start again. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, the farm, the way it has been segmented, there are steps. It's like you're going on steps when you come from top to bottom. And what went behind that? Because every level has maybe a different type of vegetable or even the same as the other one. So, and I can see on the edges of the farm as well, of the steps, you have bananas that you've placed there. So what is that? What went behind that? Or is it just something that you said, okay, let us try?
No, not really. So one, let me say the geographical area of this place. So if you just check all the way from neighborhood to the other side, it is all the same. There's a way the farm is slanted. And it is just it. So we have to deal with your farm as it is. So most of them think like, then what do I do with a slanted line? Farm. So they kind of do only, napier grass, because most farmers here do cows. And we thought that we just have to work with the farm as it is. So the reason you see the banana plant is to help us hold the soil, because again, it is slanted. So we have to make sure that we have to work on this land and make sure that we don't lose soil. So we plant trees along, we plant cover crops along also to hold the soil and bring the soil together and ensure that no piece of land is wasted at any cost. So every part we make use of it. The drainage system we've made through the trenches we've made also is also part of drainage, because as it rains, the water is flowing the way it is flowing, and we make sure that wherever the water settles, there's something growing over there, and water is not wasted in any way. Yeah. So the geographical area, and we have to know that it is what it is, so we have to work with this land as it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still on that, as the way the terrain is and the way it's very slopey, and yes. So when it comes to a season where there is a lot of flooding, of course the water moves down. Yeah, sure. What happens to the plants that are on the lower side of the farm? Because all the water goes there. Yeah. So how do you manage that?
So, which has been a learning method for all of us, because every day is a learning day. And initially, if you came here maybe 3 years ago, it was not as it is, because we would let water only flow. But we've been having courses on water management, on people who knows more on how to manage water, and we've been really learning on them, from them. So if you walk along with me also you will see that we have the tires, you see, the trenches also, the banana plants, the trenches, these ones, the big bunches. And so down there, no water that is flooding, because it all has uses and purposes. Okay. So through the trenches we've made, something is growing over there in the trenches. And you find that later in the dam, the water that is being collected there is also very clean, because we have a technique of cleaning the rainwater. So we've been adapting, techniques on how to clean water and other to manage water as well.
All right. Yeah. Very well explained. Now, let's look at a farmer who is planning to do organic farming in the city. Away from here, they have a very small space to work with. They have maybe a very, very tiny place to work with. What would be your advice to such a farmer? Because someone might want, on the balcony, they have just a very small type of an organic mini farm. What goes into that? Do they operate as a big farm as what you have here?
Well, let me say, well, it's not as big as we have here, because the piece is a small one. But I will say that for farming, it's not about space. Sometimes you might be big and not better. Yes. But you might be that small, small scale farmer, but you're better. So we also employ that mantra, saying that we normally want to grow better, not bigger. So that small piece of land, as long as you take care of it, in a sustainable way, through the kitchen refuse, which of course you have in your kitchen and you keep collecting it every time, then you will be better. You will be better. So I would say to a farmer that stop wanting to grow bigger, and then through you being as small as you are, let just aspire to be better.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are some of the crops that, of course, when we mentioned about harvesting and removing the plants that you have or the crops, what are some of the crops that can strengthen the nutrients in the soil, even as you wait for another planting season? The period that the land is just bare or the farm is bare, what are some of the crops that a farmer can plant in order to make this land more nutritious for the next season?
Well, I would say most of the leguminous plants are always nutritious. So, I mean, beans, chickpeas, name them. All those leguminous plants, it's always healthy and advisable to always have them. You don't have to have them on large scale, but just a segment of each in every small portion you have them, that is enough. So, red cabbages also, maybe carrots as well. So, just to name a few. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Even as we are now concluding this conversation, you are a young farmer.
Yeah.
What would be your parting shots and what would you tell a young farmer out there who would like to get into organic farming and they are scared about, okay, I have a very small space. The way you said, it's not about the space, it's what you put in, right?
Yeah.
So what is your parting shot?
Well, I would say that just start. Start. You don't have to have a clear plan. Sometimes the plans are so complicating, and so whatever you have, just start with that. Start with that, because there's no formula we can say. There's no formula that you can always refer to on how to do organic farming. So, because organic farming is all about what am I having in my farm? Am I really having that compost, which is readily and always available with you? So, it's all about starting with separating your waste. Of course, now maybe you are not doing that before because maybe you never knew the importance of waste separation. So if you now start learning that everything is important in your kitchen. So what cannot decompose and rot, then that one you can, look for a solution for that, maybe burn or keep it away. But what can be saved as compost, then start saving at that time. So instead of, later on investing on so much that you could have already started with this composting and everything. So start with your waste management. That is where you can start to have the backbone, so that if you have now enough manure or enough compost, then the small portion you have, the small farm or how big is it, then at least you have something to make to strengthen yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Kazi pamoja na tukue pamoja kuimarisha